This is my book, and I want to tell you about the summer that I wrote this book. I had an ant problem, and it wasn't just a few ants. It was a whole ant infestation in my kitchen. Have you ever had one of those? I was on first name basis with my exterminator, Carl, and Carl had come to my house 8 different times, and on the 8th time, he was very passionate about bugs. He told me about the baiting and how you have to take it back into the trail in which it came from, and you have to find the ant home, and that's how you get to the source of the issue. Well, on the 8th time, I said to Carl, I said, "Hey Carl, what's your favorite bug?" And Carl paused. He kind of scratched his chin, and he goes, "The caterpillar." And I said, "The caterpillar? Why the caterpillar?" He said, "It's the only bug that completely liquefies and becomes ooey gooey caterpillar soup." And he had me right there. Caterpillar soup. I was hooked. I was hooked in. And so I started to wonder, I've learned about the life cycle of the butterfly. I've been in many schools where I've heard about the teaching of the life cycle of the butterfly. Why did I, for the 40 years on Earth, not know that butterflies liquefy into caterpillar soup? So all of you out there, you guys are all STEM folks. You're STEM instructors at STEM schools. So you probably know that we call these moments phenomena. And that's a natural event that sparks wonder and curiosity and makes you say, how did that work? What happened here? It's more than just curiosity though. I want you to know that moment of phenomena is also what we call cognitive glue. It really has our students leaning in and thinking. So this particular phenomena, caterpillar soup, became the heartbeat of my picture book right here. And I fleshed out an entire story that summer, and I worked with an illustrator, and it became this powerful reminder, folks, that phenomena is what happens when science and story collide. And that can make learning very memorable for our students. So my first job in education was in high school. I was a high school theater teacher, believe it or not. Those of you that know me, I know a lot of you out there, and you know that I'm a theater person. And I moved into elementary education, general education, not long after. I really fell in love with STEAM because, it wasn't much of a departure from theater. I was designing with my students and problem solving and bringing stories to life in the classroom. And Cobb County, this place right here, this feels like home to me. I have trained teachers through professional learning here, and you all have taught me what good teaching looks like. And I don't just say that. I work in a lot of districts across the state, but Cobb, you're my favorite. You are my people. I mean that. Years ago, I was teaching in Spanish Harlem, New York. I was teaching first grade to ESOL students. And language was a barrier, it was a challenge. But story became the bridge. I'm going to tell you a story about a day I was teaching. I was sitting on the rug with my first grade students, and I was reading this book. I need a prop for this. I was reading the book Stregonona, and I grabbed my scarf that I had on that day, and I whipped it around, and I put it on, and I was transformed into the Italian grandmother Stregonona, who lived in Italy and had a magical pasta pot, right? And the students immediately started shooting their arms up, hands up, had all these questions for me. And I really had them problem solving this problem of the main character, Stregonona, and it kept going on and on. They were so engaged. Eventually, Stregonona had to go back to Italy, and I went outside my classroom, I exited, I threw my scarf off in the hallway, and I came back in as Miss Espinoza. Well, I forgot about it, and a couple hours later, I had a student go to the restroom. And she saw that scarf sitting on the floor. And she grabbed it, and she comes back in, she goes, Miss Espinoza, it's Stregonona's scarf. And she says to me, we have to get it back to her. Can we mail it to her? And it dawned on me that this was real to her. This story was real, she was in it. So I got out a cardboard box, I put the scarf in the box, and I shipped it off to Calabria. My point in telling you this story though, when kids live inside a story, they're not just learning vocabulary. When they live inside a story, they're not just learning science. They are feeling it. They're experiencing it. It's not just a hook. It's the vehicle that helps our students create meaning. Cognition science tells us that stories are the framework that helps students make sense of complex ideas. And we know with the science of reading and Fisher and Fry's research, we call this content literacy. The literacy of ideas, of context. It's how we move students from curiosity to reading comprehension. STEAM classrooms, they ask students to observe, you're hypothesizing, but when you add story to the mix, whether it's the life cycle of a butterfly, or it's the journey of a water molecule, or it's the adventure of an inventor, all of these things, they activate two sides of our brain, our analytical side and our creative side. And that transforms science, facts, and evidence into experiences. For ESOL students or our reluctant readers, story provides language, visuals, and the emotional entry point. My ESOL students didn't just understand Stregonona, they lived in her world. When you ground a book inside your STEM classroom, it's an invitation to wonder, what's going to happen next? So I leave you with one thing here. My challenge is, with every unit, try beginning with a story. What if the next time you sit down to plan your next STEM lesson or STEAM unit or lesson, ask yourself, where is the story in this concept? Or better yet, let your students write the story of what they want to discover. And now, I am really excited to introduce you to a new theater company called Discovery Stage, and invite up on stage Jody Underwood, who is the artistic director and founder of the company. And what's so exciting about this partnership is that Discovery Stage is going to be performing a few scenes from my book that is being adapted into a musical. So it is leaping off of the pages and onto the stage. It's going to be touring into schools this school year, so it could be at your school. She'll be set up at lunch. And yeah, I'm going to hand it over to you, and then we're going to actually have an opportunity to read the story with performances from the musical.